evil, to be profoundly immoral and wicked. There are, on average, 1.3 million violent crimes in the U.S. annually, 800,000 assaults, 90,000 rapes, and 15 to 20,000 murders. Murderers are not monsters, they're men. And that's the most frightening thing about them. Alice Siebel. Megan, a licensed mental health professional, and her husband, Paul, a police officer, sit down to examine and discuss the nature, the impact, and most importantly, the origins of evil.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paul Danino Braun.
And I'm Megan Braun.
And this is The Origins of Evil, a podcast about the beasts that go berserk and brutalize bystanders. Megan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Paul. How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing okay. I really can't complain. We did get hit with an absolutely vicious snowstorm that broke my snowblower, and I had to shovel myself out like a peasant, like a plebeian. No, it was very frustrating. We got like a solid 2 feet down here, and good thing we didn't have to leave for several days.
Yeah, it was very nice, but now winter can be over.
Yeah, I'm good. I got my one snowstorm in. We got to make boozy hot chocolate and watch something. I don't remember what it was. Was it a horror movie? It was probably a horror movie, knowing us.
I think we watched Encanto, no?
That could be horrific to a certain group of people.
Sure.
Spanish grandmas are very scary. How is Mama?
She's doing great.
That woman is so old.
She's alive and kicking. Yep.
How old is your grandma?
Oh my gosh. She has to be, what year are we in?
22?
She has to be like 95, 96.
Listen, she can beat Betty White. I believe it. She can do it.
We'll see.
Listen, there's a non-zero chance that this bitch is going to be at my funeral. So, Mama's lovely. Love you, Mama. You're not listening to this. I'm not even 100% sure you can hear. But we just want to take a moment to, give the audience a little thank you. The podcast has been blowing up to an extent that surprises me for how young it is. As of recording, we've broken a couple milestones. I know that we previously spoke about hoping to break 1,000 downloads before the end of February. Well, here we sit. It's February 8th, and we're on our way to breaking 1,100 downloads very soon, probably tomorrow, at the way things have been going. So thank you so much to everyone who's listening. If you just joined on, that's fantastic. I apologize for all the bad words and the banter. There's going to be some of that. Fuck, there you go. There's your first one. First one's free. Second one will cost you something.
Yeah, I will say, personally, I had no expectations for this podcast. It's just something I wanted to do for funsies. And so I'm really pleased to see that, a lot of people seem to enjoy it. It makes me feel good. So Thank you guys. And yeah. I'm happy to put stuff out there that people enjoy listening to and getting to put like a little psych spin on things or kind of go into depth about talking about some of the psych stuff behind these cases. I did just want to apologize for our dogs.
Oh, God,
I'm sorry. In the
sorry.
last episode, I listened to it. I'm like, oh, my God, our dogs.
In
George
the middle
and Thor.
of our room. Yes, Georgie and Thor, both named after delightful fictitious characters. You want to give them the real quick backstory on Georgie's name, where that came from?
Okay, so Stephen King, as previously stated, is my favorite author. So Georgie is named after Georgie from It. And yes, our then 5-year-old did come up with that name. No,
we didn't know that. We didn't know where she got it from.
No,
we just
she
like,
hasn't
Georgie,
read
that's
it,
cute.
nor has she seen the movies. So,
but we're driving home from North Shore Animal League on Long Island. It's,
yes, they're both adopted.
Don't shop. And
they're Southern boys from Georgia. Hey, Georgia.
Yeah. Hey, Georgia. Thanks for all the views, Dublin.
And thanks for our dogs.
Yeah. So we're driving home, and Madison goes, "Oh wow, we have a dog named after a murdered child. Isn't that hilarious?" She's 5.
Yeah.
She was 5 at the time.
We told her that was not hilarious, but that it was cool that we were able to pick a name from a book that
See,
Mom
that's
likes.
one of those moments where you just have to silently be proud, because that's not the kind of shit you can encourage your kid to say in public. You just silently be proud.
Sure.
And Thor is just named after Chris Hemsworth, because he was an Australian shepherd, and we were like, oh.
Yeah, we were like, whoa, Thor's Australian. And then
Like
the
idiots.
shelter worker was like, Chris Hemsworth is Australian.
And we were
but
like, same difference.
Thor's a cool name. And we're like, yeah, you're right. So then we like said, oh yeah, his name is Thor Hemsworth. Like we try to cover
It's
it
Georgie
up.
Denborough Braun and Thor Hemsworth Braun. Those are our dogs.
And we're sorry that you
Had to hear them
Fighting.
fighting.
At
We'll
11 at
cover the
night.
cats next episode. You know, we gotta leave some for them.
Stay
to get.
tuned for the cats of the Braun household, because
Mm-hmm.
boy, are they interesting.
So Megan, we actually watched a movie last night, a film you had never seen.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Would you like to tell everyone about it?
Yeah, we watched The Hunger Games, the first one, which I have never seen. I was most impressed by the work of the second unit director, Peter Roger.
You know, you could tell when he did a shot. You could tell that you're like, yep, that guy, the framing of the camera, the way he captures the action, you know he had an incel kid who shot up a bunch of people. I mean, he did a good job making the movie.
Remember, this was all prior
This
to the Events Valley Roger.
We know this was prior to Elliot's shitty little rampage, because he was at the premiere.
Yeah,
He
and
told us,
only the most important people got invited to the Hunger Games premiere.
which not to disparage the work that Peter Roger did. I love me watching some credits. I'm always like rooting on the best boys and the random grips and all that. But he was like a solid 30 minutes into the credits. It felt like that.
Yeah,
They
and
were
we're the
long-ass
assholes
credits.
that waited to see his name. We sat there like, all right, any minute now.
Yeah, our daughter was
Wow.
like, why are we still doing this? And we're like, because we have to see Peter Rogers' name. And she's like, why? It's like, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
We just have to. We have to do this.
We cannot physically leave the couch to shut the movie off
No.
until his name pops up.
Shame he didn't work on the sequels.
Why? Because I called it Great Balls of Fire. Do you want me to see Hunger Games, Great Balls of Fire? Or,
I honestly forgot that you said
yeah.
that. I mean, it's no Harry McDaniels, but I'll take a Hunger Games Great Ball of Fire. So this today's episode is actually going to be a little different than what we typically do. We are going to be dipping a big ol' fat toe into some paranormal stuff. Now, I will say at the top, no, I do not believe in any paranormal anything. I am a skeptic.
Is not fun.
I'm very fun. I went to goddamn, West Virginia, to Point Pleasant, and I stayed in a haunted goddamn hotel, and I shot a documentary about the Mothman. We didn't find him, but I'm very fun. You need the skeptic to ground everything. But we're going to be, it's important for context on this case that you know some of the things that the would-be killers were believing and what they were under the impression. So we're not going to make it a habit to touch on that kind of stuff, but it's necessary for this. If you're not into that, that's fine. I will put in the time code when we jump to the actual concrete facts of the case, and you don't have to listen to any of that dribble.
Yes, and unfortunately, you won't be hearing much from me this episode. This case is...
Gargantuan.
It's gargantuan, and it's very psych-heavy. And
Because we also had two killers in this case.
Yeah, and I've been going over it for the past 2 weeks, and I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet, guys. But I'll be ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we
For part deux.
read a book, we watched 2 documentaries and countless hours of court video. There was a lot of research. So that's part of the reason this has been broken into 2 parts.
Yeah, I feel ready to write a creepypasta about Slenderman.
Oh, God, I hate the term. You know what? We're getting ahead of ourselves. I will explain the spooky linguini later.
Spooky linguini.
The malignant menacate.
Paranormal pasta? Paranormal penne?
There we go. Paranormal panic. Because pasta's already taken. Can't. Okay.
Wretched rigatoni?
Oh, son of a bitch. I couldn't think of
can't-
one for rigatoni.
You can't say these things to me because I will continue and I won't stop.
Yeah. Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop being you, Megan. Before we get into today's episode, we're going to really quickly read off our sources. An episode of 2020 entitled The Wicked. the HBO documentary, Beware the Slenderman. The book, The Slenderman Mysteries, an Internet Urban Legend Comes to Life by Nick Redfern. We also had access to the videos of both Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weir's interrogations, which top out at almost 5 hours in total. Really, guys, the amount of research for this episode was out of control. And finally, we were able to utilize the web archive, the Wayback Machine, to access the original forum on Something Awful where this legend was born. And that is it for our sources for part 1. We will be reusing some of these for part 2, and some extra ones will be in there. We'll cover those when we get to it. Quick round of trigger warnings for this episode. We are going to be discussing things of a paranormal nature. We're going to be discussing things that involve kidnapping, murderous children, children getting assaulted, stabbing,
Children of the Corn,
mental illness. Yeah, I think that's it, right?
Well, mental illness, not so much this episode, but the next one.
I touch upon it.
Okay.
You know.
Just kidding.
And with all that said, let us start with today's case. Every single day, we as a society wake up and try to fight back the encroaching tide that is chaos. It's a quest that is as honorable as it is futile. Life is chaos. And as my favorite fictitious chaos theorist, Ian Malcolm, stated so eloquently back in '93, life finds a way. Chaos reigns. I find chaos theory fascinating. Chaos theory in mechanics and mathematics studies apparently random or unpredictable behaviors in a system governed by deterministic laws. Working in law enforcement, you could see why I might gravitate towards this. However, one concept in chaos theory captures me in particular: the butterfly effect. This is a phenomenon whereby a minute localized change in a complex system can have significant effects elsewhere. A butterfly flaps its wings in Hong Kong, and it causes a hurricane in New York. The flap of a single wing, the slightest change it causes in the air around it, can accumulate and cascade over a long enough period to create disastrous effects. A man goes out drinking. He sleeps in the following day. He misses his flight by 10 minutes. 45 minutes later, that plane crashes into the South Tower on the morning of September 11th. Years pass. He goes on to create Family Guy. A Russian bureaucrat decides to save some money by using graphite tips on the control rods of an RBMK reactor. The meltdown at Chernobyl destroyed thousands of lives, and Pripyat is now unlivable. These seemingly insignificant events can and do have monumental effects on our world. Sleeping in, the stroke of a pen, that is all it takes. June 8th, 2009, the website somethingawful.com would have a Photoshop contest. The goal? To create realistic paranormal images. Eric Knudsen would enter the contest under the pseudonym Victor Surge. He would submit 2 black and white photos of his creation, the Slenderman. 4 years, 11 months, and 22 days later, 2 girls would stab their friend 19 times. These 2 seemingly unconnected events were anything but. Eric Knudsen just wanted to win a contest and create some creepy images. What he couldn't have known was that he had set in motion a chain of events that would inexorably lead to one of the most vicious and upsetting crimes to happen in Waukesha County's history. A butterfly flaps its wings, and a hurricane happens. Chaos reigns. This is the case of Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier, the Slenderman stabbing of Waukesha. Who or what is the Slenderman? He is a modern-day urban legend. However, I see people mischaracterizing Slenderman as a cryptid, and that's just patently incorrect. You see, a cryptid is an animal that has been claimed to exist, but has never been proven. Creatures like Sasquatch and the Loch Ness Monster and El Chupacabra. Contrary to popular belief, cryptids don't have to be supernatural, mythical, or even all that strange, though many popular creatures acquire these characteristics as their legends grow. Haley Williams.
From Paramore? She said that?
I mean,
it's amazing.
She might have also said that.
But not from Paramore.
No. You see, the whole thing was that she never meant to brag. But ultimately, like, she acquired the things that she needed.
Mm-hmm. But she's got him where she wants him now.
She has him where she wants him. You know what? That song hasn't aged that well. It's a little slut-shamey at points. Just saying. Going all woke on Paramore circa 2008. How dare them?
Leave Paramore alone.
I'm sorry. I don't want them to break up a fifth time. Our daughter loves Paramore. It's so cute. Hey, have you guys ever listened to Paramore? The look.
LOL.
The lol.
Yeah.
Raffle copter. Let me strap on my roller skates. And I'm done. So, some cryptids have actually been proven to exist. Animals like the Komodo dragon and the far more recently discovered giant squid were both at one point considered cryptozoological animals. Once that happens, though, they graduate from cryptid just a regular old animal. While creatures like the Jersey Devil and the Mothman blur the lines between cryptid and urban legend, I believe that the Slenderman has its lanky, amorphous feet firmly planted in the latter category for a few different reasons. Most importantly, we know Slenderman's origins. As previously stated, the Slenderman is a contemporary urban legend. He's barely 13 years old at this point. Because of the word-of-mouth nature, the best we can do with most urban legends is to posit their origins, but that's not the case here. Instead, Slender's internet origins have created a concrete paper trail that leads us right back to the point of his inception. Slenderman wasn't born around a campfire. His legend was not spread through hushed words underneath quilts and covers at sleepovers. He was a series of viral images online, a meme shared into existence and codified through the power of groupthink. SomethingAwful.com is a forum-based comedy site that offers a slew of message boards you can participate in. One of the main pages they have is called Photoshop Friday, spelled with a little PH. And it would be here that the aforementioned competition would be held. June 8th, 2009, at 11:55 in the morning. A user would propose this particular Photoshop battle. Creating paranormal images has been a hobby of mine for quite some time. Occasionally, I stumble upon odd websites showcasing strange photos, and I have always wondered if it were possible to get one of my own chops in a book, documentary, or website by casually leaking it onto the web, whether they'd be supplements to a bogus stories or not. So let's make a shitload. Over the coming days, various users would post their creations, some very good, others quite amateurish. That brings us to June 10th, 2009 at 1:07 p.m. Eric Knudsen, under the username Victor Surge, tosses his hat into the ring with two solid images. And I have to say, these pictures are genuinely remarkable. They're simple and effective, and he provides just enough backstory to give them some weight and intrigue. I'm going to describe them both real quick, but I will post the images on our Instagram and I will have them in the video version. Now, Megan, you've seen these pictures before.
Yes.
Okay, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So image number 1. It is a black and white photo. A group of kids. Clothing appears to be from the 1980s. They seem to be exiting a wooded area. A tall, faceless man behind the kids, with its arms outstretched. The image is posted with the following description. We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. Ooh, that's spoopy.
That's scary.
That's spoopy. And it's got the horror and the comfort thing. Well, we'll come back to that. Image number 2, another black and white photo of children playing on a playground. Clothing again places it in the mid-80s. The kids in the foreground seem entirely unaware of the entity present in the background. An inhumanly tall, faceless man is surrounded by children. Tentacles emanate from his body. The top right corner has a library stamp, and the description on this one reads as follows. One of 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken on the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slenderman. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986, photographer Mary Thomas missing since June 13th, 1986. Dun, dun, dun. This would become the framework upon which all Slenderman lore was built. The name, the physical features, the luring of children, these become the core tenets of Slenderman. The post right underneath these images would prove to be sadly prophetic. You just know a couple of the good ones are going to eventually make it to paranormal websites and be used as genuine. Username Slidebite. How weird is that?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be one thing if that was just in that, forum somewhere because it is like 40-something pages long, but literally it's the next thing posted with someone saying like, yeah, one day some idiot's going to think this is real. How funny is that?
Yikes.
Yikes indeed. So the images go viral and Slenderman begins to take off. At this point, Knudsen has lost control of his creation. It is the urban legend equivalent of the death of the author. Slender is out there in the ether and he belongs to the people now. At this point, Slender was just 2 pictures and a handful of sentences. But after he goes viral, people start to fill in the backstory. Lore is created, and the Slenderman becomes a fully fleshed out character, one with desires and goals. The YouTube series Marble Hornets would serve as a stealth introduction to Slenderman for millions of people. The series would start just 10 days after Slenderman's creation. Marble Hornets was created by Troy Wagner and Joseph DeLog. It was formatted as found footage, which helped lend it an air of authenticity. Marble Hornets became one of the first significant levels of abstraction for the Slenderman. People would watch these videos and they would think it was real. And it's kind of hard to blame them. They lacked context for the character's origin. Everyone in the forum knew it was fake. Those who received images and links to these videos didn't. Marble Hornets has over 110 million views to this day. People create fan art, cosplays, and most importantly, creepypastas. Now, side note, I hate the name creepypasta so much, and it bothers me on a guttural level that I now have to explain to our audience what a creepypasta is. Hear that? Did your nose just whistle?
It did it again.
This is why you push the mic away. Sorry. Didn't you watch Chocolate Rain? He moves away from the mic to breathe.
I have no idea what that is.
You don't know what Chocolate Rain is?
No.
That's like one of the OG viral videos on YouTube.
Honey, I just started getting into YouTube.
I don't even know what to do about this. People, sound off in the comments or whatever about...
Sound off in the area, guys.
Let us know. Let us know if you know who Tay-Zonday and Chocolate Rain... Chocolate Rain. Some say dry and others feel the pain. You've never heard chocolate... You know what?
No.
Fine, we'll get back to the seriousness. Okay, so creepypastas. Okay. So at its most basic level, a creepypasta is a scary story written online. And it works as a catch-all term for really any online horror content. The word creepypasta is a portmanteau of the 2 words creepy and copypasta. Now I know what you're thinking. What the fuck is a copypasta? Well, I'll explain that too. A copypasta is derived from the computer term copy/paste. So basically, like, people were writing copy paste, and like if a thing of text was worthy of being copy and pasted, it just kind of became copy pasta at some point. And then the creepy version of that is creepypasta. So now you know the etymology of the word creepypasta. The more you know. The creepypastas surrounding the Slenderman ranged from lame to creepy, from harmless all the way to very, very problematic. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier would find Slenderman in those very stories. Because of the way Slenderman has taken off, there is now an expansive mythology for them to get absorbed into. Slenderman is no longer a known-to-be-fake creation. Instead, he now exists as a flesh and blood monster in the vein of Bloody Mary or the Boogeyman. We, as adults, know that these things are fake now, but as children, I'm sure quite a few of us believed. Furthermore, this character has evolved into both a malevolent and nurturing creature. Slenderman would have proxies, not dissimilar from how vampires would have human familiars. In fact, that's probably where the idea was taken from. The Slenderman mythos is an amalgamation of previously established myths and legends. There are shades of the Pied Piper, vampires, Lovecraft, and the Men in Black. Hell, even his physical design is reminiscent of Jack Skellington. I refuse to go into the weird underbelly of erotic fanfic surrounding this character. Just know that it exists, and it is highly, highly awful. Slenderman exists as a simultaneous source of fear and comfort for these girls for all those reasons. But before we get into the crime, let's spend some time getting to know our would-be killers.
Dun-dun-dun.
Epic waiting noise and such. On May 16th, 2002, Morgan Geyser was born to parents Matt and Angie Geyser. While Morgan was an unplanned pregnancy, her parents welcomed her all the same. Her mother described her as quirky, saying that she always marched to the beat of her own drum. However, as Morgan grew up, some potential warning signs started to manifest. She didn't always react the way you would expect her to react, like at the movies. Like if something had happened to the main character, she wouldn't have empathy for them. Her mother recalls watching Bambi with Morgan and her lack of empathy when Bambi's mom died. Morgan wouldn't react the way that would conform with the typical behavior of a little girl quite often. As Morgan grew, she developed a liking for the strange and unusual. One of these things would be Slenderman. Her parents knew that she was into Slenderman, but they weren't concerned. Kids are into spooky and macabre shit, and it's totally normal. And the overwhelming majority of kids that like horror content don't commit violent acts. However, there was cause for concern regarding Morgan's behavior at school. Teachers would describe Morgan as an odd kid and a loner. She would often do things that seemed to be attention-seeking behavior or potential indicators of severe mental illness. That's the tricky thing about kids in this age range. It's challenging to know what's what. Where does an overactive imagination end and visual hallucinations begin? One day, Morgan is running away from other children and she's saying that Snape was chasing her. Another day, she's barking at her classmates. I mean, maybe she was just a diehard fan.
Maybe. I mean, it sounds like it.
Not like of the film series Die Hard.
Yeah, no, she's a fan of Alan Rickman.
Yeah, and she's into running
picking
away
up what you're putting down.
Running from Alan Rickman. R.I.P. He was taken too soon.
Way too soon.
We love you, Alan Rickman. You magnificent bastard.
Did your nose whistle again?
I did. I can't believe this. I can't believe this is happening.
I can't believe you've done this.
I'm just gonna.
You know what, Megan? Just
leaving.
Just leave. We don't need you. I can do this all by myself. I have a bachelor in fine arts. Okay. So a real problem arises when Morgan is suspended for bringing a rubber mallet into school. The principal would note that Morgan broke down, cried, and began to quietly talk to herself after learning she would be suspended. This incident was made known to her parents. By the 6th grade, being bullied was a regular occurrence for Morgan. So there were some problems, to say the least.
Yeah.
Anything in particular stick out to you at this point? Any warning signs that you maybe would have picked up on as a professional?
I mean, hindsight is 20/20. And I think that, when you're dealing with kids, to jump to the conclusion that, there's something going on here, they might have a mental illness, can be, incredibly rash and detrimental at times. So, I mean, I'm not Morgan's parents. Like, I don't know if I would have picked up on any cues.
Yeah. Although they, as we'll find out later, maybe had cause to think that was a possibility that on some level might have been ignored. We will touch upon that in part 2, though. So
yes, and I'll get into that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
As to why that's not totally... It wasn't totally unrealistic of them to maybe suspect that, but not seek out any type of treatment or counseling.
Yes. So on November 10th, 2001, Anissa Weier was born to parents Bill and Christy Weir. Both of her parents would be very involved in her life growing up, even after separating in 2012. There isn't much literature out there about her early years. Things seem to be more or less typical. However, her 4th and 5th grade teacher, Tom Haynes, said that Anissa had no solid connections with other kids her age. This would lead to a monthly crying session in school. According to her mother, Anissa also did not have many friends growing up. However, Anissa did have plenty of similarities to Morgan. Perhaps that's what attracted the pair. Morgan and Anissa became friends in the 6th grade. The two shared the same bus. This came as a relief to both Anissa and Morgan's parents, as neither child had much in the way of friends. In fact, one of Morgan's only friends was Peyton Leitner, who went by the name Bella, because reasons. It's fucking Cindy White all over again. What was that woman's name?
Sarah Isabel White.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
I in one of the documentaries, they say like in first grade, there were 2 Peytons in the class. So then Peyton Leitner just said, call me Bella.
You know what?
Maybe
you know
it
what?
was just a nice name.
Did the movie Twilight come out yet? Because maybe she was like, my last name's Leitner. People constantly say Lautner, Taylor Lautner, Twilight, Bella. Fuck it. Call me Bella. Why not?
Maybe.
That was a very tenuous line of logic, but maybe. That would be the only question that I have for her. So, yeah, she went by Bella because reasons. And Morgan and Peyton had known each other since kindergarten. Angie Geyser said the two had been best friends since 4th grade. Ultimately, Anissa is introduced to Peyton through Morgan, which is how the trio was formed. Morgan and Anissa grew very close very quickly. Anissa shows Morgan one of her favorite websites, the Creepypasta Wiki. Lightning strike. One story she shows her is focused on Slenderman. Morgan confesses to Anissa that she's pretty sure she's been seeing the Slenderman since the age of 5. This becomes one of the essential things that bond their friendship, their shared interest in Slenderman. Both of these girls were at a crucial place developmentally speaking. They were both very psychologically vulnerable. Here we have 2 socially isolated girls with a mutual love for Slenderman, yes-anding each other. Taking into account all the other factors, that can be very dangerous. These girls took their fears, anxieties, and longings and projected them onto the blank canvas that was Slenderman. You see, the Slenderman is an entirely decentralized character. There is no definitive version of him. Anyone can project their fears and desires onto him. When these girls looked at Slender, they saw a fellow outcast, a victim, a lethal protector. And yes, I said lethal protector because he has tentacles like Venom, who is also a lethal protector, but has gotten 0 children to stab their friends. Be like Venom. Don't be like Slenderman. So really quick, what are your thoughts about the fact that it was... Do you think in a larger group this happens?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes.
So you think like if they had like, I don't know, 5 additional friends and they were still the only 2 that were into Slenderman, that it would have gone this way? You don't think like Becky would have been like, that's fucking weird. Stop doing that.
I mean, it's hard for me to get into that right now because I'm really going to touch on that in the psych portion.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on what the delusion is. We see examples of it in society today.
I mean, you could argue that the incidents at Point Pleasant with the Mothman very much fall underneath a mass hysteria type thing. There were too many people seeing the same thing for it to be, coincidence.
Yeah.
Also, hysteria, very sexist word. I'm looking at you, the English language. Shame on you. Get woke, dictionary. So around December of 2013, Morgan came to Anissa with an idea. The 2 of them are to become proxies for the Slenderman, but they must prove themselves worthy. They would have his protection, his affection. They would be not only safe with him, but safe from him. They could live forever in the middle of the forest in his Slender mansion. All they would have to do is kill Peyton. Over the coming months, Morgan and Anissa would devise their plan. They would discuss their plan on the school bus using code words like cracker for knife and itch for killing. That's like one of the things that like, it just freaks me out with this is the level of planning that they did. Mm-hmm. And it almost seems to be at odds with some other things. At 12
years old, yeah.
Yeah, and just to take it as far as to be like, well, we can't talk about stabbing our friend to death on the school bus. That's crazy. Let's use code words so people don't know we're talking about stabbing our friend to death on the school bus.
Yeah, it's a little insight into, they were aware what was right versus what was wrong.
Because they knew they couldn't just say that.
Yeah.
The three girls have a sleepover at the Geyser house for Morgan's birthday. The night of the 30th, the girls went to Skateland, an indoor roller rink. The three took pictures together that night. They look happy and like they're the closest of friends. Afterward, they went back to Morgan's house and they played in the basement. According to Angie Geyser, they played up in Morgan's bedroom and ran up and down the stairs, giggling and laughing. It was just a normal night. Initially, the pair had planned to kill Peyton in the basement that night. Morgan was going to go to sleep with a pair of headphones on, so the alarm she set for 2 a.m. wouldn't wake anyone else. She would then wake up Anissa. They would duct tape Peyton's mouth shut and stab her in the neck, place her underneath a blanket to indicate that she was sleeping, and run away to Nicollet Park to join Slenderman in his Slender mansion. The plan never came to fruition. Instead, Morgan wanted to give Peyton one more morning. How fucking thoughtful. How sweet of her to grant Peyton another morning.
I mean, that's what best friends are for.
Really, though. But once again, it's just the level of planning, the fact that she was like, well, I'll go to bed and I'll have on my headphones. That way the alarm wakes me up, but it doesn't wake her up. They wanted her to be sleeping.
Yeah.
Because it would take a lot more effort to kill someone who's awake. That morning, the children awoke to a breakfast of strawberries and donuts. Baller fucking breakfast. That sounds great. Maybe it's the cop in me talking. I love me a good donut. They intended to head out to the nearby park later that day. After breakfast, the three then played with silly putty and their tablets. Next, they played dress up. So Peyton goes into the bathroom to put a princess gown on, and that's when Anissa and Morgan develop the second iteration of their plan. First, they would go with Peyton to the park, corner her in the public bathroom, and finally kill her. Usually Morgan's mom would accompany her on trips to the park, but Angie made an exception since it was her birthday and she was with friends. You just feel bad.
Yeah. That's the one thing I will say. It's like after watching all the documentaries and just reading about the case, like I just feel horrible for all of these parents. Like it's like Elliot Rodger all over again, where it's like there's no bad guys here. There's like no like, oh, this parent should have known better, or they were neglectful, or it's their fault. Like
there's really only one glaring thing where I'm like, come on. But like you said, that wasn't enough for them to.
And even if you do think that your child has a certain disorder, you certainly aren't thinking, I think they're a danger to someone else, where they're going to try to, murder their best friend, let alone another human being.
Like a 12-year-old.
Yeah. So, your heart really breaks for all of these parents. It's just like, what a shitty,
it's
terrible, heartbreaking situation. Ugh.
So Morgan packs a bag full of clothing and snacks, and this arouses Peyton's suspicion. Why would they need all that for the park? Morgan and Anissa just shrug it off and leave with Peyton. On their way out, Morgan takes a kitchen knife with a 5-inch blade, and she stashes it in her waistband. As they walk to the park, Morgan shows the knife to Anissa, who becomes nervous. Dear God, this is really happening, she recalls. The thing about stabbing her friend to death that made her most nervous, according to her words, was seeing a dead person. Because the last time I saw a dead person, it was at a funeral, and it was my uncle. So she's about to kill her friend, and all she can think about is how it's going to affect her. Kids, they just say the darndest things.
They certainly do.
Who hosted that?
I think, was it Bill Cosby at some point? Oh, God. They certainly do, Bill.
Yeah.
And funny, so do about 30 or so women.
Oh, snap.
I'm kidding. I don't know if it's 30 or not, how many accusers he has.
It's more than one, and God damn it, Bill. That's enough for it to be a problem.
I think now I want to say Tiffany Haddish now hosts it. I think she's the host.
It was still on?
I mean, I
Or
think
they brought it back?
Yeah, I think they brought it back, and I think
You know what it was?
she's the hostess.
The syndication money from the Cosby Show dried up because rapist. So they were like, well, we can bring this back, and this is friendly enough that it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Although,
Tiffany Haddish is fun. She's a good time, you know.
Yeah. She has sexually assaulted 0 people, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So, Tiffany Haddish, keep on keeping on, please and thank you. That was so fucked up what you said. I love it. That was hilarious. The girls go into the bathroom at the park. This was the second location where they contemplating committing the murder. Anissa thought the large drain in the floor would work well for the blood. You see, they would stab Peyton, prop her body up in the toilet, crawl underneath the stall, and then be on their merry way to the Slender Mansion. And this just shows you how stupid kids are. Just logistically, like, so you're going to stab someone, right?
Yeah.
But it's fine. There's a drain on the floor, so all the blood will be there. But then you're going to lay on the floor and crawl. It's like you're going to be covered in blood when you leave.
Yeah. Also, there's going to be blood marks on the stab victim. It's not like, wow, what happened to this person?
Yeah.
All the blood went down the drain.
All of it went down the drain. They didn't even need any water. It just all right. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, these kids.
It's so crazy. I am like 31 years old. I like
Megan,
still don't
you
really.
don't look a day over 30 and a half.
Yeah. I still don't know how to like do my hair properly at like, I certainly couldn't do this at like 12 years old. And these kids are like planning a murder. I like barely knew how to like plan an outfit for myself at 12.
Well, to be fair, they did a very, very poor job planning it.
That's true.
So maybe you would do just as good at murder as these two. Never sell yourself short. So the only context these two girls have for murder is what they've read on the Creepypasta Wiki, which is just nothing but short horror stories. Anissa wants Peyton to either be asleep or unconscious to make the stabbing her to death part easier on them. Anissa also has this bizarre fear of looking into someone's eyes as you kill them because you can see yourself in the reflection. She believes it would be like killing yourself. They ask Peyton if she's able to put herself to sleep, you know, in the public bathroom. She refuses for various reasons, and this angers the girls. Anissa strikes Peyton in the forehead, causing her to hit the back of her head on the concrete wall. This was a feeble attempt to knock her out, and it didn't work. Anissa remarks, "I don't like screaming. That's one thing I can't handle." They both wanted so bad to divorce themselves from the horrible act that they were about to commit. They wanted it to be easy. At this point, Morgan hands the knife to Anissa and states, "I thought we agreed you were going to do this, and I can't do this. I'm too scared. You have to." Anissa gives Morgan a hug, pets her like a cat to calm her down, and hands her back the knife. The girls then tell Peyton that they're going to play hide and seek. Morgan would be the seeker, and Anissa and Peyton would hide. Anissa leads Peyton deeper and deeper into the woods, under the guise of hiding. Anissa tried to get Peyton to lay down and put leaves over her. The plan was for Anissa to pin Peyton down by sitting on her, but Peyton refused. So Anissa pushed Peyton down, and then Morgan found them. Morgan hands the knife to Anissa again and says, "I can't do it. You know where all the soft spots are." You know where all the soft spots are. Anissa puts the knife back into Morgan's hand and says, "You do it. Go ballistic. Go crazy." Morgan tells Anissa, "I'm not doing it until you tell me to." Anissa then begins to walk away, and as she approaches her fifth step, she says, "Now." "Don't be afraid. I'm only a little kitty cat." Morgan told Anissa that when she became a proxy, she'd paint herself with whiskers like a cat, and that would be her catchphrase. Morgan sits down on Peyton's leg, leans in close, and whispers in her ear, "I'm so sorry." Those are the words Peyton hears right before Morgan Geyser, her best friend, stabs her in the chest. Peyton's best friend since 4th grade has just literally stabbed her in the heart. Morgan stabs Peyton in the legs, arm, and chest. Peyton is stabbed a total of 19 times with a kitchen knife. She is 12. Think about how much worse physical trauma is based on the size of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, a 12-year-old, like a 5-inch blade could basically go through you. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Peyton has gone in shock. She can't see, has difficulties breathing, and she struggles to get to her feet. Anissa assures Peyton that she and Morgan will go get help. Anissa tells Peyton to lay down because she'll lose blood slower. The truth is they didn't want Peyton leaving the woods. They didn't want her calling for help or making things more complicated. They wanted her to be a good friend and lay down and die. They wanted their friend to bleed out alone in the woods. As Morgan and Anissa walk away from Peyton, lying on the ground, bleeding to death, she musters the strength to say one final thing to them. I trusted you. I hate you. And with that, the pair leave Peyton to die, and they begin their hike to Nicollet National Forest to find the Slender Mansion. And that is where we are going to leave it with the timeline. We will pick up from there next time. What are your thoughts on all of this awfulness?
I mean, it's just so disturbing.
It's so much worse that they're little girls.
It's
so much worse.
And then just, I mean, you know, we'll get into it next episode, but just like what they say during the interviews and, you know, like I said, like a lot of the psych stuff, it's
a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Before we end the episode, I wanted to leave you all with this. Just something to think about over the next 2 weeks while you wait for part 2.
Why you anxiously await for part 2.
Yes. Tulpas. Tulpa is a concept in theosophy and mysticism and the paranormal of an object or being that is created through spiritual or mental powers. In layman's terms, it is a being or object that is created in the imagination by visualization techniques, such as like Tibetan mysticism. It's a thought form. You think it, and if it is given enough mental energy, it becomes real. Now, obviously, Megan, that's absurd.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't just create a living, breathing entity out of mental willpower. But large groups of people believe in this shit. While the line between tulpomancy and mental illness, such as dissociative identity disorder and schizophrenia, is quite short, I would like to put forward a different, more grounded concept. I want you to think of a modern, non-literal version of a tulpa, one that is not flesh and bone, but pure thought. I believe the most straightforward demonstration of power is the ability to affect the actions of others, to influence the world. That is power. And it is not relegated to those who possess a corporeal form. No. Think about this. What being has helped regulate the behavior of millions of children each year?
Santa?
Motherfucking Santa Claus, that big jolly bastard himself. Now, as far as I'm aware, and Megan, please stop me if I'm wrong, he doesn't exist.
Well, no, but he was based on, you know, St. Nicholas.
Sure. But the version of him...
Well, no, Coca-Cola invented him in the 1920s.
More or less. So,
yeah.
So the literal version of Santa that kids believe in...
We should probably put in a trigger warning at the beginning in case there's any people that listen to this stuff with their kids.
Bro, if you're listening to this with your kids, you're a cool fucking parent. But yeah. Sorry they had to find out this way. But the version of Santa Claus that, you know, lives up in the North Pole with elves and knows if you're sleeping and you're awake, which is very weird, and then, you know, he commits breaking and entering and leaves shit under a tree. That version of Santa doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. We can all, as adults, agree on that. Please, for the love of God, say we can at least agree on that.
Well,
yeah. No. So, he ain't real yet. Year after year, children curb their behavior in hopes of pleasing this fictitious man. Characters like Santa Claus, Harry Potter, even fucking Spider-Man have inspired, emboldened, and affected us in one way or another. See, the truth is we give these things power. We propagate their stories, and in turn, they influence our culture. Mm-hmm. The Slenderman is not real. He is just a shitty meme that got out of hand, a cringeworthy character with film adaptations that are about 4 years too late. But people have done terrible things in his name. And on some level, that gives Slenderman power. On some level, that makes him real. Just mull that one over while we go into part 2 of this horrible, horrible case.
Yeah, and whatever you do, please, please, do not watch Slenderman the movie. We tried to watch it. We got 4 minutes in, and we shut it right off.
It is so bad.
4 minutes in. Just the writing and the way...
And it's just...
These writers and directors think teens interact.
Like, okay.
It was just
On
terrible.
the Rocks is going to invade this podcast for a quick second, and we're going to do a little bit of movie talk. It's number one, just a very bad idea to do a like literal Slenderman type movie right after this incident happened. Like literally, like this came out like a year and a half. Like I think the trial was still ongoing when this movie came out.
Yeah, I think Slenderman was 2016. Yeah.
The only thing worse than that is to make a movie that's like a hard R and then just cut all of the horror out of it and just poop out this PG-13 nonsense garbage. Like you could have either made a movie about the Slender Man and just avoided any possible proxy stabby kind of things and just made it a monster movie, or you could have gone like the Oscar route and made like a straight up fucking drama about the real life incident that happened. But no, you had to do this stupid thing and waste amazing character actor Javier Botet. I don't know. I'm definitely butchering his name, but he played the crooked man and the alien. He's a real weird looking dude. He's got amazing physicality though, but you just wasted it. Boo you movie. You suck. Joey King, this is your second horror strike. First the Wicker Man. No, not the Wicker Man. Wish Upon, and then goddamn Slender Man. Tell you what, you want to watch a good Slender Man movie? Kind of, but not really. Watch The Empty Man.
Yeah, that movie's great.
It's like 2.5 goddamn hours long, and the only reason it exists in its uncut form is because Disney bought Fox and they had no goddamn clue what to do with it. So they were like, fuck it, we're just going to put this out. It's an interesting movie. It changes genres like 3 times. It's pretty cool. Check it out. But that is going to be it for this week. I think that's enough with this goddamn case.
For now. And yes, next episode will be very heavy on the psych. So
yeah, well, next
I'm
episode,
very excited.
We're going to cover the remaining portion of the timeline. You'll find out what happened to everyone. And then we'll go right into the trial, because boy, was this trial...
Yeah.
I don't want to say messy in the sense that it was not handled well, but just the subject matter that gets covered in it, we get into very dark, murky territory.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you would like to add?
No, I think those are all my thoughts for this evening.
I know. We'll get to hear Megan's dulcet tones much more next episode.
Yes.
Well, before you guys leave, please do me a huge favor. Validate me by leaving a little like on the YouTube video. Maybe a subscribe. Maybe follow or rate. I don't know. There's so many goddamn buttons. Just click some of them, please.
Any of them. Any of the buttons.
Don't click any. Don't. If it's a thumb down or something like that, don't click that.
That's it. That's it for this episode for me. I will be talking plenty next episode.
Yeah, I mean, what have you watched? You watched the entire assessment, right?
I'm still watching Anissa's trial.
Oh God.
I'm writing down I have like 4 sentences. There's so much.
Give me an A. Give me a D. Give me an H.
A-D-A. Oh, D. I was like,
And the last horse crosses the finish line. Join us in 2 weeks where we will finally delve into part 2. We're going to end this whole awful thing, and hopefully we can all get some closure in this awful case.
And in the meantime, if you guys want to create any tulpas or scary images to put out there, let's have a contest.
Yeah, let's have we're going to have a tulpa contest. Everyone, send us it on Instagram.
Send us your tulpa.
I want a cocktail napkin with a crude crayon drawing of a monster. Who knows? Maybe one day you can inspire horrible things such as crappy Hollywood adaptations or vicious children. And with all that, I'm Paul Braun.
And I'm Megan Braun.
And remember, murderites, never go to a second location. This has been another episode of
The Origins of Evil.